Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity. And my friend from New York was pointing out that at some point we're going to move on from the IRS. But I want to point out that this section is specifically about the enforcement of what the IRS has been doing. And we know that last year the IRS has been targeting American taxpayers, as we've learned, for their political beliefs for the last 4 or 5 years. During this period, a culture of shading the truth was fostered and developed by directors and administrators throughout the IRS. Now this culture within the IRS has grown to one of stonewalling, double talk, and mistrust. It's up to Congress to use the power of the purse, Mr. Chairman, to rein in the IRS and force them to conduct their analysis in an unbiased manner. This is our constitutional tool. The IRS has proven itself to be unable to do so, which is why I'm introducing this amendment that cuts more than $788 million from the IRS budget. With the combined cuts in the underlying bill of $341, this will approximately cut the IRS budget by 10% from its current funding levels. The underlying legislation takes a good step in the right direction, and many of the amendments, including the last one that was just adopted, are a step in the right direction, but I unfortunately believe this doesn't go far enough. We need to keep in mind that the IRS is one of the most feared agencies within the federal government, left, right, or center. They can freeze bank accounts, garnish wages, and seize assets with the flick of a pen. Congress needs to utilize the power of the purse, our constitutional tool and responsibility, I might add, to send the IRS a message to put an end to this newfound, quote-unquote, business as usual. It is up to Congress to prevent the IRS from ever slipping back into its targeting practices. The best way to do that is to force them to consolidate its resources and prioritize. Congress itself has been forced to do this. Our own offices, Mr. Chairman, have been forced to do this over the last number of years, and there's no reason that the IRS cannot follow suit. We cannot allow the IRS used as a political weapon. Because as I had pointed out, it doesn't matter if an American's political views are left of the spectrum, right of the spectrum, or somewhere in between. The IRS is one of the most powerful agencies that we have, and for them to be injected into this process as a political weapon is simply wrong. Political targeting is not the only example, however, and this is not the real problem I'm trying to get at, because I believe there's another problem, which is attacks on those who cannot defend themselves. Political targeting is only a part of the story. The other one is in 2012, the Taxpayer Advocate Service report found that 69%, my colleagues, of individuals who claimed the adoption tax credit were audited by the IRS. Okay, well, that seems like a pretty aggressive move. Unfortunately for the IRS, only 1.5% of the credits claimed were ever disallowed. The Taxpayer Advocate Services and Government Accountability Office, the GAO, have both noted that the adoption credit claims represent less than 0.1% of all individual returns for the 2011 filing season. By comparison, the IRS spent approximately 3.5% of its total staff days on initial review and correspondence and audit of these adoption tax claims. Let me repeat that. 0.1% are the total claims, yet the IRS spends 3.5% of all of its staff days pursuing these. This is not about tax cheats. This is about harassment. In essence, the IRS spent 35 times the amount of work hours investigating adoptive parents than compared to other tax filers. West Michigan is blessed, the area I represent is blessed to have one of the highest adoption rates in the entire nation. Hardworking families who want to bring another into their home, someone who's been abused or neglected, they should not have to be burdened by the echoing footsteps of the tax man. I'm angry, Mr. Chairman. The American people are angry, and they should be. Clearly, the IRS has too much time on its hands and has not enough focus. The recklessness with which the IRS is acting by targeting Americans for their political views or whether they've adopted a child is simply wrong and must be stopped immediately. And with that, I reserve the balance of my time.